All right, if you're thinking about selling your home in Niceville, Shalimar, or Fort Walton Beach, listen up. There's a really good chance you could be leaving thousands of dollars on the table at closing. So in the next few minutes, we're going to break down how you can keep way more of your hard-earned equity just by understanding where the real work happens in a home sale.
This quote right here, it just gets to the heart of it for so many people, doesn't it? You're the one putting in all the effort, the sweat, the stress, but when it's all said and done, who walks away with one of the biggest checks? It's a frustrating feeling, and I bet almost every home seller can relate to it.
I mean, think about it. You're the one deep cleaning the baseboards, you're managing the painters, coordinating all the repairs, and living in that constant state of show-ready. You carry the mental load, the physical load, the whole thing. And yet, at the closing table, you have to watch this huge chunk of your home's value, your equity, get handed over to someone else. Let's fix that.
So first things first, let's just break down where all that effort actually comes from. We're going to look at the real division of labor, the work you're actually responsible for when you sell your home.
There's often this huge gap between what we assume is going to happen and what actually happens. A lot of people think their agent is going to handle all the prep work, all the coordination you see here on the left. But the reality for most sellers, it looks a whole lot more like this list on the right. You're the one decluttering, you're the one hiring and paying for the repairs, and you're the one managing all the vendors just to get the house ready for the market.
Now look, don't get me wrong, this isn't to say an agent's work doesn't matter. It absolutely does. Getting the pricing right, professional marketing, sharp negotiations, managing all that paperwork, that stuff is crucial. But here's the point. That work is just a fraction of the total labor involved, and a ton of that labor falls directly on your shoulders.
Okay, so if you're doing most of the physical work, that brings up a really big question about the cost, right? And that leads us right into our second section, what I call the commission unlock. This is the real aha moment in this whole process.
And here it is. This is the one thing to take away from all of this. Let it sink in. The amount of work you do does not change based on the commission you pay. Seriously, think about it. Whether you agree to a 6% commission or a 3% commission, you're still doing the exact same deep cleaning, the same repairs. The only thing that changes is the size of the check you write at closing.
And the financial impact? It's just staggering. I mean, just look at these numbers. On a $300,000 home, the difference between 6% and 3% is $9,000 back in your pocket. At $500,000, that jumps up to $15,000. And for a $650,000 home, we are talking about nearly $20,000 of your own equity.
And that kind of money, well, it's not just some abstract number on a spreadsheet, is it? For most families, that is life-changing cash. That could be the down payment on your next place, a college fund, or just the financial cushion you need for your next chapter. It completely changes the entire math of your move.
So, saving on commission. That's the first huge step. But then, how do you protect the equity you just fought to keep? Well, that brings us to our third section, the power of inspections. Here on the Emerald Coast, smart sellers are investing upfront in a few key pre-listing inspections. We're talking a general home inspection, a WDO or termite inspection, a 4-point, and a wind mitigation. The total cost is usually somewhere between $600 and $1,100. And I want you to think of this not as a cost, but as a strategic investment in a smooth and much more profitable sale.
So how does this put you in control? It's a really simple 4-step process. First, you get to discover any potential issues long before a buyer does. Second, you can fix what matters on your own timeline and on your budget. Third, you present these clean reports to buyers, which builds a ton of trust. And fourth, you get to negotiate from a position of incredible strength, not weakness.
And the payoff here is huge. That small upfront investment helps you completely avoid those dreaded last-minute repair requests from buyers, the kind that can cost you anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 in concessions. You're basically eliminating surprises and protecting your bottom line.
Okay, but there's this common fear that holds a lot of sellers back from doing this. So let's tackle that myth head-on in our fourth section, myth versus local reality.
This is the big one. I hear it all the time. It's the fear that if you don't pay a high commission to your listing agent, then buyer's agents just won't show your home. It's a totally valid concern, so let's break down the reality of how it works right here.
Here's the truth of it. A buyer's agent is focused on their side of the commission. That's the amount you offer to the agent who brings the buyer. As long as that number is competitive, let's say 2 or 2.5%, they are fully motivated to show your home. What you pay your own listing agent, it really doesn't impact them. In fact, a pre-inspected home actually makes their job easier. Let's make this super concrete with real numbers from your neighborhoods. Okay, imagine a $300,000 home over in Shalimar. That's a $9,000 saving.
Now let's pop over to Niceville. On a typical $450,000 home, that saving jumps up to $13,500.
And how about in Fort Walton Beach? For a $650,000 home, the difference is a staggering $19,500. These are not just theories. This is the actual math playing out at closing tables right here in our community.
So, when you bring this all together, it really just boils down to one simple decision. Let's look at the two paths you can take in our final section, the smarter choice.
Ultimately, you've got two paths in front of you. There's the traditional path. You do all the prep work, you pay a 6% commission, and you leave thousands of dollars behind. Or there's the smarter path. You do the exact same amount of prep work, but you pay a 3% total commission and you keep the difference. The marketing, the exposure, the buyers, all of that is the same. The only thing that changes is your profit.
So it all just boils down to this one question. You are already doing the work. That's a given. The only decision left is, are you ready to keep the equity that you've earned?